This is the part I want cleared off the most, is right there. I think that means it's out of gas, which we can get, but we can get that after I start up this tractor. So let's reach under here, and yes, it's off. Turn it on, and I didn't really see any movement. That's good. Means that the okay. Let's turn on the key. Now this is really this part I like, because it sets directly. Well, it can set directly on the seat if I want it to point. Let's take a look at this. Let's get it. Okay. Now that I've blown the snow off of it, let's turn on the key. Oh, this one is sideways, and let's start it. I'm gonna get the tractor to run, and then I'll get some fuel in the blower, and we'll finish blowing this thing off a little bit. Definitely need to move snow. And a good little tractor. Got some snow. That was a pretty drifty. I got snow in the brakes. I'm gonna have to blow that out. Not that it's a big deal. We don't always get, well, it is a big deal. Those covers would have protected them, but still, if you're completely aware of what's going on with your axles and you wanted to get them balanced, well, I didn't have any other choice at that time than to pull those. They're in the garage. Okay, I'm going to start up the snow blower, and ooh. Okay, let's put this here. Yeah, there's a little, that's interesting. Isn't there any? Okay, we'll go with that. Now. Whew. Oh. Whew. Let's go. I'm gonna go get some fuel for this.
Again, the tractor is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The gears sound good. This does have a Sherman transmission and it's in low gear. I pulled the handle off. I never put the handle on it. I just put a piece of that aluminum tape over the hole I made for the shifter. And this tractor stays in low. I would definitely like time to work on this. The control looks good here, but the problem is I'm only using about 1.5 inches of the stroke and to achieve what it's supposed to do in basically the total stroke. And ideally, I've seen so many of these mechanisms inside damaged. This just damaged. It got hit too hard by the big spring at the top, or something else fell apart in there and it got crunched. I don't know exactly, but if this thing is working properly, it could easily be set for a given height, and when the bucket feels a lot of snow on there, it will push on that spring, that big one, and the control will be there to pick that thing up. All in the calibration of it. It can be perfect. This is one disadvantage of having no brake covers. I got this wheel wet, so I'm having trouble. I can't stop it with the brake right now. But they dry right up. They really do. That does create heat regardless, and they just soon dry out. I had to do that because my axles were too short. Somebody took a grinder to the inside of them. You couldn't get them you couldn't get those bearings tight if you wanted to. So I took those two plates out in this particular tractor. New axle shafts, exactly what they're supposed to be. Fix it, or some really tricky axle end work in a machine shop could also make those axles work perfectly again. Building a bronze insert for the tips of the axles and drill them so you could have these bearings add to it. Then you could put your plates back. It all had to be figured out. I know they had a jig at the factory to put these tractors together. You're out there in the field, you're for hours trying to figure out the shims and stuff on them. And they just set it up on some kind of a jig they had. It ran right in there and it knew exactly how many shims it needed to close those axles. So this tractor really runs well. The Sherman, it is beautiful inside. I have just a little bit more in play than I wanted. I have no shims in the front of this thing, so it's fine, but it makes me want it would be another project, just another project. Okay, let's go in there and let's get that shimmed correctly, figure out what we got to do to keep all the in play out of the gearing. This is after the snow, but before one, before the next. This is after the big snow, but before the next snow, which was big too. So I'm just, I've got I'm working the brakes. The brakes are dry again. They dry right out. I've never had any real trouble with this. It doesn't get wet in the rain, but this snow thing, I'm pulling a little bit of snow. And the gears sound good. They're in light oil. I think my other tractor is in heavy gear oil, and it works good too. I sort of like the heavier oil for some things, but this tractor is going to be in for some work under that seat. I'll have a look and see. I'll have a look see inside the transmission and stuff while that's out of there. The camera here is underneath the seat, magnetically stuck to where the seat attaches to the cast iron top of the housing. This tractor has been every bit worth. I've been using it for 10 years. Last year, it was so hard with these cylinders. You can every once in a while you'll get a shot. The cylinders are still on the rear lift, but we are only using the original internal cylinder that was calibrated for size, weight, fat, the ability to pick up quick. And you can see here where I'm picking the back end up, but I'm watching and doing this with my hand rather than it being an automatic function that the tractor is capable of doing if this 3-point lift is completely calibrated. And that spring, the great big spring, it has to give a certain amount. That's why this control, when that spring is given any kind of push at all, it should start picking up that 3-point lift. Ideally, that's what it did. Well, that's what it did when it was brand new. Right here, I think I've got my brake wet just a little bit on the driver's side of the tractor, or from here, the right side. But it dries right up. That's is a disadvantage if you get snow inside those, so you got to watch what you're doing. My axles are short, so I had to take those covers off to get the bearings right on this one. What I'm doing here is switching the brakes. You know, they're right there on the 48. They put those brake pedals right next to each other, so you had really great traction control. And that's what's happening right here, is I'm keeping both wheels under traction by putting the brake on the one that's spinning. Works pretty good. They do it automatically, but this was a dream for a farmer that never had anything of the sort. He learned these tricks, and this is a pretty good working tractor. I had problems with the axles because somebody had already ground the ends off. I don't know what they were thinking, trying to smooth them, and they made them so there was so much play in the taper bearings, because that's how you set the backlash, is by putting those axle tips together. They're in grease, so they and they run the same speed most of the time, so it's just natural to sort of do it that way. I had a locking differential on one of the newer Ford tractors that we had, and it definitely locks them both together, makes it hard to turn. But for a moment, there they are, you've got them together because you're pulling out or in or whatever, so that's not a bad thing. It's easy to reach. It was easy to reach. I got to see what I just... Anyway, here it is again. I'm using the brake pedals. Get those tires to stay turning the right directions. It works good. It's a great little tractor. I gave $1,500. No, I didn't. I gave $1,200 for it. I think this blade is 60 inches, so it's the same width as the outside of the tires. I got this at DMV and several years ago, and it's been pretty good. It's moved a lot of snow, and that's what we use it for. Basically, I am pulling dirt with it since we're raising the front of the property a little bit, but it just it works good. I noticed that I have a bolt loose on my left hand side here. It's already been tightened since this video was taken. I'm just sort of narrating into it right now because you can't really hear me talking into this, and I don't have the microphones. I was just too busy to I love that little camera because it's just sitting on its magnet mount. It doesn't have a cage around it at all, just sitting there waterproof, looking at the back end of this tractor like this and letting me hear the transmission from a different angle. I like what I'm hearing. Everything is working well. I put seals in this thing doesn't leak. I did some extensive work, and getting those axles square, oh, you should have seen how terrible they were, the squareness of the tips of the inside of the axles. They go to the differential. There we go. Got her going again. That step on the brake. There you go. Sometimes I'll sit there and vegetate for just a fraction of okay, yeah, what are you looking at? Get your brain back onto what you're doing here. Another example of the same thing where I'm using the brake pedals. See, I wanted to spin and I slowed it down so that I wouldn't roll. And that's all you do. They last for years and years and years doing it. It's not something that you really do that often. You don't use those so much in plowing because things are much different, and the load gets the tractor steady in a field that's been plowed. These little tractors were just right for the small farmer with a couple of horses that he was using to plow with. This was like getting an air-conditioned cab and everything. Before you were behind the horses, now you're and the plowing. So you were subject to everything out there in that field. But this, and you were you were in front of it, so you weren't breathing the dirt. Pretty good thing. Very interesting development. This little tractor, the 8N out of the series of the 9N, the 2N, and the 8N. The 8N replaced more horse teams than any other tractor. The 9N and 2N were very they replaced plenty of horses too, but the 8N that's 48, 49, 50, 51, 52 maybe, I don't know for sure where that is without looking in the books. But this little tractor is it's working really well, and it's out of calibration. I have to know what I'm doing with that lever right now. I'm going to do some work on this one when we get in the heat. I want this to do perfect. When I set that blade down, it hits a stump. It should lift also with the draft control. People damage those draft controls. I'm not sure how much pressure you have to put on the top spring to actually damage the levers inside, but I've certainly seen it in watching people rebuild them. Man, there's some really, you push on that top end too hard, that big old beefy spring, I would think that it could collapse and not damage it, but then again, that may not be the case. I don't know where I was looking when this happened, but I got a hold of that parking log and pulled it out. I never even knew it until I turned around and looked at it when I was coming back. That happened. Here I'm just pulling the snow further this way because there's really quite a pile of snow there. Although I've spread it out quite a bit, it's still causing me some concern. The two-pedal traction control was really innovative. You could do this with the 9N and 2N, but you had to do it with different feet. And I think somebody made a... there's nothing you could do. You had the same control, you just had to do it differently. The 1-foot control was a brainchild on this tractor because you can see how I'm controlling the traction. You can sit here and not do anything, and or you can use your traction control. You have to have your brakes, or this thing is just worthless. I mean, if you don't have brakes on this tractor, it limits its capability, because that's what that is traction control. That's what I'm doing to make these tires stay together. And you can do it. You don't have to look at. You can just look at one tire. If it stops, you put on the brake on the other side. If it spins and you're not moving, you just move your foot over and hit the brake, and it will start moving. You're not holding it. You're just adding balance to the traction. That's all you're doing. You're not trying to stop that other wheel. You just want to add the balance, so it will start moving, and it does. It works great. If you just sit there like a bump, it's not going to do anything. You're not going to get much of the snow work done. That's for sure. I'm moving a lot of snow here. That's all I got to say about that. This little tractor has served me for 10 years. It's done the snow work on this place. It's cold. Yeah, you gotta have gloves on. You're sitting out. It's not a cab tractor, but I didn't pay anything like that. Cab tractors sit around for what 360 days or something a year. They wouldn't sit around, but I just, $40,000-$50,000 investment in a tractor is pretty steep. Just to be that kind of comfortable, and this is not that cold out here. Got gloves on, and hey, I'm getting my driveway cleared. And we're gonna have another snow, so I can't hardly get these things processed. There's so much work going on. All right, hit that brake. There you go. Sometimes you might forget your rhythm and. You do have to, you get used to it after a while. If you want to raise that lift, you just naturally going to pull it out of gear and let your clutch out to bring that lift up. Now that lift should hold for a significant amount of time. This one it leaks down a little. I mean, it'll be down in 10, whatever minutes. While it's running, it's working fine. It's pumping oil, it's keeping its height. You can set it. I just hold it with my hand, but the whole travel is within like 1 inch of this thing. So it takes a skilled operator right now to make this blade work correctly, and it's doing that. Let's see, we're gonna stop right. I didn't notice me pulling out this parking log until in a little bit. I push it back. But look how I drug that out there. I didn't even know that was happening. I must have been looking the other way. I definitely did not mean to pull that log out like that. I think I put it back in a little bit. Put a good Sherman transmission in this tractor, and I put it in low gear and took the gear shift off of it because I don't want anybody fooling with it. I want it in low gear, but that is part of the reason you hear a lot more gear noise with this tractor because it's in low gear. And, that makes it. I think that makes it better for this job. Anyway, it gives me a more powerful reverse and slows everything down. It doesn't. I need it to go slow. I think I may be pulling right here in third gear because we're pulling pretty quick. I don't know which gear I'm in, to tell you the truth. A lot of the time it was second and then third. One time around I put it in fourth. I noticed that my 3-point hookup on the left-hand side from here would be on the right if you were facing the same way as the tractor, but that bolt is loose. I'll tighten it up this morning. I'm going to have to use the tractor and do some work again today. Same thing going on, traction control with the brakes and lift control, but you're feathering. I'm feathering the control some. Look at that loose bow. You could do some real damage if I would let that go too long. It's just worked its way loose recently. I will tighten it up this morning, no doubt. The camera is on the seat mount underneath me. I can see my code every once in a while working its way down. And the camera is just magnetically stuck to the transmission. It's actually the seat U spring on top of the transmission. There's only one bolt, so it sort of swivels a little bit. Makes for an interesting variation in view. Quite a bit of snow. Quite a bit of snow at this point. I'm thinking maybe overall 12 inches. I just don't know where it was. I haven't looked at the news about this. I can see it was a big one. Everybody's got snow. Can't see. I don't like that. It's moved over. Okay, I'm moving in. But my seat is rotating a little bit, and that's what's causing the camera to rotate somewhat. Tractor's working really well for out of calibration. That lift, the cam pin, and needs to be replaced, and the whole thing, it needs to be taken apart and calibrated, serviced, things repaired in there, and then calibrated where it's supposed to be so it will react the way it's supposed to. I should be able to easily, this would be a long stroke motion to do the movement I have here, and I'm only moving about 1.5 inches. The whole thing, the control, it's there, the control's there, it's just way out of whack. It's operational points that need to be corrected. But it's working real well. It's going just fine. Since I unhooked those awful cylinders. Myself talking, but I don't have a DJI mic on, and I don't have camera close enough to me. Its camera sitting, like I said, it's under the seat, so sound is relative. That's about what it sounded like. That is a lot of snow that came down for me. It's maybe nothing to people back east. again, this is my 8-in 1948 8-in tractor that has the Sherman transmission in it. The transmission really did look good, but there's just a little bit more backlash than I want between the gears. I don't have any shims in it at all, so I need to look at the back side. But it sounds good. I can't really complain. It's got light oil in it, which makes it a little bit noisier. But other than that, it sounds reasonable. I definitely would like to spend a couple of days working on it. Second power pole back, the one with the light complexion, is the power pole they replaced. Idaho Power replaced yesterday. They did a great job of working that thing in there live. Unbelievable. I'm just moving snow. Same thing, same rules. This is August. I'm going to call it here. I have a lot of work to still do, and it doesn't. This is it. This is what I am doing. It's just clearing snow. Pure and simple. 8N tractor, blade from B&D, and me on my 8N tractor, clearing the snow on the property. I'd like to have comments, questions, anything. I will answer, and do the best I can. All right. You guys have a good day, and I will talk to you on the next round. Bye.